Hey everybody, today I wanted to upload this video. I just wanted to express some thoughts I'd had over this past weekend and on some topical issues at the moment. Now, we're not changing the way we do things at this channel at all. This is always going to be predominantly a live stream channel because I enjoy, the back and forth of the live streams. I love getting you guys input. I like having the live commentary, the live conversations. I'm just bringing this because it's just something that I want to say and I just want to get it out. So I'm posting this video and I would love to hear your thoughts, your comments on what I have to say. And if you'd like to see a live stream regarding this issue in the future, by all means, I'd love to do it. Now, before we get into the meat of this conversation, let me just put out a quick disclaimer there for those of you who don't know me and I was going to say my political leanings, but my political, what I feel are lack of leanings. I don't lean towards one side or the other. So before you determine that you can just throw away what I have to say because in this case you're thinking that, oh, snowflake liberal, that's doesn't mean anything. No. And just to give you just to grab a few topical issues out of the air to show you that, no, it's clearly not who I am. For instance, I'm a huge defender of the Second Amendment. I think the right to bear arms is pivotal in this country, in the way we live, in the way we conduct ourselves, and it's of huge importance to me. I also believe that the term undocumented immigrants is ridiculous and useless. I don't think we needed new semantics to describe people who come into this country illegally. If you are here illegally, you are an illegal immigrant, and I think needing to change the semantics in and of itself tells you that there's something wrong with this process of people being here illegally. And finally, again, just to give an idea of some of my beliefs that are going to be opposite of what I'm going to espouse to you here in a few minutes. I personally think that pretty much everything that Bernie Sanders says or any of the platitudes that he's tossed out there for public consumption are garbage. I think they would lead to the eventual ruination of our society, certainly economically. And I think on an international front, he would be among, if he were to ever be elected to the top office, he would be among the worst presidents we've ever encountered. I don't think he has much of anything of true value to offer. The only thing I can say is if Bernie Sanders were to become our president, the ripple effects of what he would like to put into place, if he were able to, would not really hit this country hard till after he was long gone, so maybe he feels insulated by that. I don't know. That's just to give you a few ideas out there that are politically opposite of, or at least politically on the other side of the spectrum than what I'm about to talk about. We all know what happened in Charlottesville this weekend. It's been eating away at me a little bit for a couple of reasons. And before I get into them, let me tell you my background. I am obviously very white. If I was any more white, I would clearly be transparent. I caught that, clearly be transparent. Yes, that was punny. I grew up in a very rural community, very out in the woods type community. I did not even meet to personally interact with a person of color until I was in the 3rd or 4th grade at my elementary school. A young black man moved into the community. In that instance, I became friends with him not because of his color, but because I was an absolute baseball fanatic, and I learned he was as well. So we struck up a friendship based on that, not on anything to do with color, just on a mutual love of the national pastime. All that said, I think it gives me the right to speak on what I'm about to speak about, because the people who carried Nazi flags and Nazi slogans and were quoting Hitlerisms this weekend came from, for the most part, from what we're able to ascertain, similar backgrounds to me, maybe in the more southern part of the country for the most part, but those same type of white rural backgrounds. So I want to speak on how I feel about that. And in a nutshell, how I feel about that is if you wave a Nazi flag, if you carry a Nazi flag, or even if you have any clear destinations that you want for our society that are related to Nazism in any way, I think you piss on the graves of some of the greatest Americans who ever lived. Because we had a whole generation that died fighting the values that were embodied under that Nazi flag. And for good reason. It's a ridiculous, garbage notion to think that one race is superior to the others. And where this supremacy of any type, in this case we're talking about white supremacy, anybody who feels that they are supreme for any reason has never met every member of that individual group. I know lots of white people that the last thing I would call them are supreme or superior in any way. And I think of all the people that I have known in my family, either not personally but through relations in my family, who died battling Nazism. And when you guys go walking out there with Hitler quotes on your shirt, on the back of your t-shirts, and waving Nazi flags and giving the old Sieg Heil, when you do that, you are pissing on their graves. You're pissing on everything America stands for as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not a touchy-feely, hey, make love, not war type person. It just is what it is. This country is at its best when we're not only defending ourselves, but defending those who can't defend themselves. And that's what we did in bringing down Nazism. And to turn that around and somehow, well, first of all, where you guys are running around on this past weekend saying chanting, you won't replace us? You won't replace you for what? First of all, who the hell wants to replace you? Replace you as what? I don't even understand what, I almost didn't want to say it, but the only thing I could think of was to replace you in that all too comfortable up close position you've taken behind your sisters? Because I don't know where you think you're going to be replaced. What segment of society are you occupying right now that anybody would want to take from you? I mean, is that really your mindset? Do you really think you're somehow superior? You're just the same as the rest of us. Whether you like it or not, we're all the same. Again, I'm not a lovey-dovey type. There's lots of people I don't like. There's lots of people I'll use the word hate that I hate in my life. But none of it runs across the lines of skin color, and why would it? Do you even know any people of color, or do you just sit in your little white huddled groups avoiding the sun so you don't burst into flames and talk about how evil everyone else is because you're ignorant of the way they do things? Are there people of color out there who are undesirable? Yeah. Are there white people out there who are undesirable? Yeah. What is this whole supremacy thing? Why did I miss out on this feeling of being superior since I came from a similar background as you? All I see is a bunch of ignorant little twats running around carrying symbols that mean absolutely nothing but pure garbage. The idea of anyone being superior to anyone. Where are you held back? What do you have to protest? What is it in life that you can't do? What is someone taking from you? I don't understand it because no one is taking anything from you. And it infuriated me to see that going on, to see you guys pissing on the graves of so many truly great Americans of every color who fought an evil ideology and won, for you to want to resurrect it because in your tiny, frightening little minds, you think that you're somehow superior to someone else. And I think back to my own, I think my own interactions to people of different cultures and different colors to myself. And I remember distinctly, aside from Robert, having met him many years later, I lived in California, where it was in that area of California was obviously much, much more diverse than any place I had lived prior. Years later, I would live in New Mexico, where that was diverse in the Hispanic culture. It was I believe at one point, I lived in Roswell, New Mexico. I believe Hispanic population might have even been above that of the white population. So I got to intermix with a lot of people of different cultures, and again, found the same thing. There's assholes and great people in all of them. But I remember back distinctly to when I was a teenager and I was heavily into boxing in California. And one night outside the gym was long closed, it was nighttime. The gym I used to work out at, I got jumped and beat up by a few black guys. And it never dawned on me at the time, it was much later that all this came to me. Now, those guys gave me an ass whipping. And they gave me an ass whipping because I was white. And people have said, well, how do you know it was racially motivated? Because while they were punching me in the face and kicking me while I was on the ground, they said, basically, we're kicking your ass because you're a white boy. I mean, they were pretty upfront about why they were doing it. But it never once inspired me to hate all black people. And I don't know why it would. It inspired me to hate those black people. If I could have brought a baseball bat and found them, I probably would have done some jail time. But why would I hate them when inside that gym during regular business hours, my best friend of that era was a black man who ran the gym at the time? They were thugs. I knew lots of white thugs out there too. I know lots of white thugs now. Where is this whole superiority thing? The mind-boggling stupidity of it. And just to let you know, and I'm going to wrap this up, and I know I haven't said anything that isn't obvious to a lot of people, but it just pissed me off. So let me just say to those of you who want to march and explain to the world how they won't replace you like anybody's looking to sit on that throne. I basically come from the same background you do. So this isn't somebody from outside your little scope as far as your origins throwing a stone at you. This is somebody who lived a similar upbringing, very similar upbringing to your own. And let me make this clear and concise. I want to put it in language that I'm sure you'll understand. Coming from me, similar upbringing, similar background, to you, similar upbringing and background. Why don't you go fuck yourself?